Welcome to the History Out of the Box podcast. I am your friendly neighborhood couch amateur historian. Wow, that was a tongue twister.
Hamster?
I'm a hamster historian. My name is Cam, and my wonderful, lovely co-host,
Jen, that's me,
happens to be with me today. And we are a podcast, a show, a form of entertainment medium that discusses the good, the bad, and ugly of historical figures, hence the name History Out of the Box. So if you like to hear a little bit about some historical figures that you might know, might not know, and the good, the bad, and the ugly of their lives, then stay tuned, stick around, and we will have a wonderful conversation about someone very special in just a few seconds. But before we do that, if you happen to like the content, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any major podcasting platform. Additionally, you can also find us on Instagram at History Out of the Box. That'll probably be right there. And if you happen to like our content, you can also find us on YouTube. So yeah, you're watching us somewhere.
Or
we're
listening.
Online. Yeah.
Or driving.
Or both. You're driving us.
Or
you're driving
laundry.
us somewhere.
That's when I listen to podcasts, at least.
When you're laundering?
Yeah.
When you're doing laundry?
Yes, of course.
Interesting.
But yes, super excited to be back.
I feel rusty. And that's what happens when you take a break.
Of
that's
course.
what happens when you travel and do things and do other projects. And that's what we've been doing. That's what we've been doing. So, who are we talking about?
So, Cam, have you been seeing
Jen.
all over your feed advertisements everywhere for the new upcoming movie Barbie?
No.
Well, it's being directed by Greta Gerwig, the renowned.
Who's in it?
And Margot Robbie stars as Barbie. We've got Ken being played by the illustrious Ryan Gosling.
Oh, George W. Bush's doppelganger. Yes.
Yeah. You know, when I first heard that, I didn't believe it. And then I actually saw the two of them next to each other and I went, huh? They actually do look alike.
You know what?
Anyway.
It doesn't surprise. Nothing surprises me anymore.
No, but this movie is coming out. Too much fanfare. I'm super excited about it. Are you? I think it looks hilarious. But anyway, did you know there was an original Barbie? No?
Yeah, I would assume there is, yeah.
Well, based off a person. And today we are talking about Ruth Handler, who was Barbie's mom, essentially, and creator. But yeah, she based Barbie off of her daughter, Barbara.
The inspiration for all of us to have just a little bit of plastic in each one of our bodies.
Of course. Now, she was a trailblazer in the toy industry. Her most famous creation was the Barbie doll. It revolutionized the way that girls and boys, because I know my brother played with Barbie dolls. You said your brother played with Barbie dolls too at some point in life. Yes, I have. See what progressive brothers we have.
You know what's funny is before this we had recorded like 5 minutes and I had stupidly forgotten to push the record button on the audio. So that's why she said you said before. If it seems like we're going through deja vu right now, you know, running through the cycles of things we've already said, it's because you live in a simulation.
Oh, to peek behind the curtain. We're just the Wizard of Oz over here.
I'm not wearing pants.
But her life was more than just dolls. Ruth was a very clever businesswoman and an advocate for human rights. She was a survivor who overcame some challenges and obstacles to achieve her dreams. And we will explore her exciting life today and her early days as the daughter of Jewish immigrants in America, her rise as the founder of the world-renowned Mattel company. And we'll also dive into the controversies surrounding the Barbie doll and Ruth's own battle with breast cancer, which led her to create another groundbreaking invention, which I didn't realize was so close to Barbie doll. Do you know what it was?
My lawyer has advised me not to say this.
The first ever breast prosthesis. Realistic breast prosthesis.
I was going to say breast implants, believe it or not.
No, so, not quite the same.
You know what? Same lot. It's the same kind of line.
Well, buckle up because we're going on this inspiring journey together. I'm excited to tell you all about Ruth Handler.
So my joke about the plastic in each and every one of us is basically true.
Well, it's not prosthesis. Excuse me while I try to get that out without but that does not go inside. That is
it's attached. It's attached to you somehow.
But we'll talk more about that.
It might not be physically
shortly.
attached, and frankly, I don't need to know the details. I'm just assuming right now.
Okay, well, good. Well, Ruth Mariana Moscow was born, or it might be Moscow, Mosko,
like Moscow, like Russia,
but not spelled like that. Moscow. We're gonna just say Moscow. This is her maiden name.
Yeah.
She was born on November 4th, 1916, in Denver, Colorado, the USA. A fellow Scorpio, if you partake in that sort of thing.
Space racism, sure.
But she was the youngest of 10 children of a Polish and Jewish immigrant. Well, of both Polish Jewish immigrants in America. According to the Jewish Women's Archive, Ruth's father, Jacob, was a blacksmith who was advised to settle in Denver by the U.S. immigration officials due to it being a hub for the railroad industry at the time. And her mother, Ida, had followed her husband to Colorado with their 6 children at the time, shortly thereafter. And when Ruth was born, her mother was 40 years old, which, if you know anything about women's bodies at that point in time, I imagine that was quite a dangerous pregnancy. I'm speculating.
I know nothing about women's bodies. Could you explain to me what a woman's body is?
Okay.
Joking. Go ahead.
But at 6 months old, Ruth's mother grew ill, and she was sent to go live with her older sister, Sarah, and her husband. The couple ran a grocery store, and they lived in a modest apartment above the store. Ruth was fascinated by the business going on downstairs, and she would often help when she got home from school. So she was introduced to that sort of entrepreneurial attitude pretty early in life. And despite the difficulties her family faced, she was instilled with a very strong work ethic, a belief in the importance of education from very early on, and she was encouraged to pursue her interests, her passions, and she went on to attend the University of Denver, where she studied art and education. But her childhood experiences would actually later influence her career as an entrepreneur and a toy designer, and she really enjoyed creating something with imagination and children, and that was just sort of a part of her early life.
I think we need to pause here for our audience.
Okay.
For any of the Zoomers, anyone who has born between the ages, the years of 2000 and now, you might not know what a toy is. So let me explain it to you.
Oh my goodness.
So prior to the screen, prior to the digitalization of everything, your life, the games, your school, for a period of time, or maybe still, prior to that, we had things that were made out of something called plastic. Now, I know now it's really evil to make things out of plastic, like cars and cars and Barbie dolls and action figures and stuff like that. But back then, it wasn't.
They still
quite
do.
Yet. Toys R Us is like out of business. Okay, so
No, they're back in business.
Oh no way!
Yeah, you didn't know that?
Well, they're kind of sort of out of business.
They're back.
Anyway, they're kind of sort of. They went out and now they're back.
They had a renaissance.
Yeah, well,
they got
kind of
life breathed back into them.
Here's. I guess my whole point is this: there was a point when us kids we didn't have this or
You sound
that.
like such an old man.
I
right
am
now.
an old. I'm at the end of my life historically, so I'm old. With that being said, I have a lineage of like 50 kids by now. With that being said, plastics was a thing, toys were a thing. We didn't have screens unless you were,
I'm sure
rich
the younger
kid and had a
generation
Game Boy.
loves being lectured to
Let me explain.
about
Let me
toys.
explain more now. I'm going to double down. I'm just kidding. No, that's about it. So, Mattel Corporation, if you didn't know, they were really big when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah. Well, this was much earlier than when you were a kid. You weren't even a thought. Your parents weren't even born yet.
Okay. You know what? No one likes being talked down to. Okay.
But like I said, she attended University of Denver, where she studied art and education. She was an excellent student by all accounts. She had artistic abilities that were recognized by her professors, and in her senior year, she won a national art competition sponsored by the Scholastic magazine.
Okay, so for all the Zoomers, I think that was between the ages of 2000 or the years of 2000 and now. In addition to toys, there was also something called Scholastic magazine.
I think it's still around.
I don't think it's as big as it was. With that being said, there used to be Scholastic book fairs when people used to read books. It was like a big thing.
That was her big win right there. But during her time at university, she also was very active in extracurricular activities. She was a member of the Alpha Epsilon Phi sorority, and she served as its president while she was involved. And she also participated in theater productions. She was a member of the debate team, like quite an extensive college extracurricular career. Is that what you would call it?
Back when college was $2.
Well, it was
Yeah, it was
$3 actually.
okay.
But her college experience, again, played a significant role in shaping her future career. That background in art and education gave her a very unique perspective when it came to children and what they liked, colors and all that stuff. And she also had a very important experience in leadership and communication skills with her sorority, and it would become very essential with her success as an entrepreneur. But we're not quite there yet. We're almost there. She had met her husband. His name is Isidore Elliott Handler. He went by Elliott, so that's what I'm going to be referring to him as from now on. In the mid-1930s, while they were in high school in Denver, and he like I said, he went by Elliot, and they dated for several years until they eventually got married in 1938. And apparently it was with her family's very reluctant blessing.
His name was Isidore. That's why. Things were different back then. So 1938, when I was a little kid, for your Zoomers out there, born in the years 2000 to now, things like Isidore, they just were not looked kindly upon, names like that. They just were not seen.
I'm pretty sure it's like a masculine name of the time. Is it
I'm making things up now.
Okay.
It's 1938. Okay. You weren't around. I was, because I'm a vampire now.
Right.
With that being said, Isidore was not looked down upon kindly because of his name. So that's why he went by Elliot. In addition to that, you mentioned something about children, right? Children, using creativity, and her knowing a lot about kids, right? So back then, kids actually only focused on going outside and being children. Now they're politicians, they're activists. So there was a big difference. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out too.
Okay, thank you for that little.
Look, I've got to correct. Okay, I've got to fact check.
Gotcha. All right. Well, then you should fact check this. After their marriage, they moved to LA. What we did is we moved away from Southern California.
Partially true.
But that was where Elliot began working in the plastics industry. You were bringing up plastics. This was a big boom for plastics.
Good time for plastics, bad time for environment.
Well, specifically, they were using two types of plastics at the time. I hope I pronounced this one right. Lucite?
Yeah.
Lucite and plexiglass.
What do you think it was? Lucite?
I don't know. I've been known to pronounce things wrong.
Oh, I know. Lucite is right.
Lucite. Yeah. Okay. Lucite and plexiglass. And he also enrolled in the Art Center College of Design. And Ruth herself landed a job as a secretary at Paramount Studios. The one and only you're familiar with. Now, Ruth co-founded Mattel Inc. with her husband, Elliot, and their friend, Harold Matson in 1945. And the name Mattel was a combination of Elliot's name and their friend, partner, Mattel. There you go. Keep in mind, this is during World War II, okay? The company started out as a small picture frame business. So when you start a business, think of how things can change. They were making picture frames. And these were plastic picture frames out of their garage, as well as other furniture items. And due to wartime, President Roosevelt announced that plastic had to be reserved for military use. And they switched to low-grade wood until times would change. So that was the beginning of Mattel making picture frames out of a garage in LA. But Ruth recognized the potential for the toy industry and began to focus on developing and marketing toys. Their first toy was a mini ukulele that they called the Ookadoodle. Ookadoodle. Is it ukulele or ukulele?
For people who are on the mainland, it's ukulele.
Okay.
For people who are not on the mainland, it's ukulele.
Okay, so
I pulled that out of my butt. Maybe it's true. Maybe
that
it's
might not be true, but sure.
Yeah.
Ukulele.
Don't quote me on that.
The Ookadoodle. I don't think that can be.
I like Ukadoodle. It's better.
Ukadoodle. Okay, the Ukadoodle was one of their major hits in 1947, and they also began making toy furniture, toy pianos, music boxes, including the Jack in the Box.
Oh, interesting.
They even made replica rifles for children.
Oh, also interesting.
Such as the infamous or famous, depending on who you ask, Winchester rifles, of fame for the Winchester Mystery House.
I think I need to clarify again. So back then, for all of the Zoomers out there, 2000 to now, guns were not seen like they are today. There were not in any way, shape, or form the things that we have today to any capacity. Normally, weapons were used purely for robbing banks
hunting
or defending your house.
War.
Robbing banks and or defending your house, or war, or hunting.
Well, yeah. So they made.
I know this because I was alive then.
Right,
anyway,
of course. Now Mattel was raking in revenue of about $2 million at this time, which is about $40 million today. Inflation. By the mid-1940s.
Isn't that wonderful?
Isn't that crazy?
Isn't that nice?
$2 million
there goes.
$40 million.
So here's what that means, because people hear that and they say, "Wow, no, that means $2 million gives you today what $40 million would give you." That's insane. Mm-hmm. Insane.
I know. And by 1952, with all of those items on their roster, they had sold 20 million units.
Wow.
It's like they just sold 20 units.
Just
sold 20 Winchester
and that equated
rifles.
to $2 million.
Yeah, but we haven't even got to the Barbie doll part yet. This is just early Mattel. It's not 100% certain how Ruth came up with the idea of a Barbie doll.
Well, it's also not 100% certain how J.K. Rowling came up with the idea of Harry Potter, but we're gonna breeze right over that one.
I see where you're going with this, and there are certain instances where there was definitely inspiration.
Another show with the exact same name.
But one story that is often told is that in the 1950s, Ruth noticed that her daughter Barbara and her friends often played with paper dolls, and they would use them to act out adult roles.
That's concerning.
But she realized that there was a gap in the market for a doll that was more realistic, and it could be used for imaginative play. Stop smirking over there. Oh my gosh. No.
Honey, I'm home. Have you made my dinner yet? I'm still working on it. Gosh darn it, honey. Let me unbutton my shirt. You better get that dinner ready or else. That's how it went.
That's how they talk too.
Yeah.
There you go.
They've taken the beaches in Normandy.
No comment.
Adult situations with paper dolls.
Well, here's the thing. Ruth may have also drawn inspiration from a German doll called the Bild Lily, which was marketed to adults and became popular with children as well in Europe. And the Bild Lily doll was more of a collector's item. It wasn't meant to be like a toy.
Well, it was also made by Germany in a time that was shortly after a time that was questionable.
Well, Ruth may have come across this doll while on a trip in Europe with her husband and children, Barbie and Ken, in 1956.
Wait, her children's names were Barbara and Kenneth?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, not Kenneth.
Just Ken.
It's probably in my notes here.
Kenneth is literally, as far as I know, Ken
I'm pretty sure I'll get into that here, so I just don't remember what I wrote.
That's okay.
Sorry, guys.
Old age.
Yes,
That's what
of
happens
course.
to all of us.
Her. I'm pretty sure.
Me being old, you're youthful.
I'm pretty sure they're named after her children. Yes.
Yeah.
So Ruth pitched the idea of a new doll to her husband and Mattel's design team, and she envisioned a doll with a three-dimensional body, rooted hair, and an adult-like figure that could be dressed in fashionable clothing. However, the male executives at Mattel were initially skeptical of the idea, believing that parents would not want their children playing with a doll of such an adult-like figure.
My lawyers have advised me not to say
Of course, thank you. Undeterred, Ruth took the prototype to New York City Toy Fair in 1959, and on March 9th at that fair, the doll was unveiled, and it was an instant success. Orders poured in from retailers across the country, and approximately 351,000 dolls were sold in the first year alone. And Ruth named the doll Barbie after her daughter Barbara, and went on to create an entire line of Barbie doll accessories, clothing, dolls itself, and it revolutionized the toy industry right away. It became one of the most popular and enduring brands in history. But we're not done yet. You look like you want to say something, but have your lawyers advised you not to say it?
I've got so many questions.
Okay, well, maybe we'll answer some of them.
Probably not.
Well, we'll see. For those who aren't familiar with the doll, which would shock me, but the traditional Barbie doll was 11 and a half inches tall, blonde, and a completely developed figure post-puberty, meaning she had bazongas.
I'm glad I am. See, guys, the beauty of being married is you start to telepath things, and I knew she was going to say that. And yes, the Barbie doll, it did.
Okay.
Yeah. And for all the Puritans out there that are mad at that word, find something else to be mad at. Okay, like war or something.
Yes, be mad at war.
Mad at war.
Be mad at war. That is a very valid thing to be mad about.
Words.
Okay. And she also wore fashionable clothes with high heels. That was the traditional Barbie doll. Blonde, big boobs, high heels. There you go. Okay. Notably, Ruth negotiated a deal with the Mickey Mouse Club to be its sole sponsor. $500,000 was what it cost. It surely played a massive role in the doll's success as well. That was the entire value of the Mattel company at the time. And due to her gambling...
You know what? That's when the Mattel company sold its soul, right? So before that, it was...
To the Mickey Mouse Club? We all know your opinions on the Mickey Mouse Club. I'm surprised we haven't done Walt Disney yet.
Yeah.
That should be a fun one.
I mean, well, come on. What more can you say about somebody who is still alive underneath the Disney castle?
Of course, his head.
No, his whole body is there. Anyway.
Oh, okay. Well, he's just down there every day.
Yeah.
Never comes up.
Well,
to see the sun.
That's why
it's like a mole rat.
Well, that's why, you know.
That's why he's Mickey Mouse.
Where are you going with this?
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah. Anyway.
Now, due to Ruth's gambling.
Oh.
Well, not like actually casino gambling. I just mean like for the Mickey Mouse Club is what I'm talking about.
Okay, gotcha.
In terms of advertisements to children, which is quite the hot topic in a couple decades from this time. Remember, this is we don't got regulations the same here.
Be the thing.
Mattel
right
and
now.
Barbie paved the way in terms of advertisements to children.
Mm-hmm. You know what? Look, it's the same now. You know, just real life.
Well, yeah, there's a lot I could say about that because I've got opinions, but I'll keep it to myself for now. Ruth's vision and determination played a crucial role in the success of the Barbie brand, and she became a trailblazer for women in business and entrepreneurship at the time. And in 1960, the partners took Mattel public, and it was valued at $10 million in 1960. Is a bit over $100 million in today's cash.
Can we pause for a second?
Sure.
In 1960, 10 million was worth 100 million.
Yeah.
In what was it, 1930, 2 million was worth 40.
Let me hold on. You keep talking. I want to double check that.
Sorry.
10 million in 1960 money.
Guys, I apologize for talking on a show. I will reserve my opinion.
Yeah, about 100 million today. Isn't that crazy? In 1960, 10 million is now $100 million. But your parents or your grandparents who bought their house, I can't talk for mine because my grandparents are not in the same houses that they were. You know what's
funny? You know what's funny? You showed me a video on our side topic about inflation. You showed me a video today about a guy talking about how before the age, but by the time you're 30, you should have 10 houses.
I wanted to yeet him off a cliff.
Someone who's in that demographic of older individuals. And interestingly enough, this does not go for everybody, but much like today, wisdom does not necessarily come with age. With that being said, $10 million back then is worth $100 million now. Mm-hmm. So $10 million then could buy you what $100 million today buys you. That's insane.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
Insane. Anyway.
In 1961, Mattel added Ken to the mix, Barbie's boyfriend, and that, named after her son.
Kenneth.
Yeah, okay. I don't know if it's Kenneth, but
Kenderland.
I think it's Kennethy. Like
Kennethy,
Timothy,
yeah.
But it's Kennethy.
Kenillium, like Ken with William.
Or Kenantha.
Kenantha, yeah.
I'm trying to think of another one. Killiam?
Kenderson.
Wait, Killiam. Kenillium?
Yeah, Kenillium. Yeah, he's part chameleon.
In the later years of her life, Ruth Handler remained active in the toy industry. And she continued to advocate for all that. But she did face several challenges and controversies, so to speak. So in the 1970s, Ruth was diagnosed with breast cancer, and she underwent a mastectomy. And a mastectomy, for those who don't know, is when you...
Mastectomy.
What?
Mastectomy. There's a T there. Mastectomy.
Mastectomy, excuse me.
A mastectomy is something else.
What is it?
I don't know.
It's when you remove the breast tissue.
Yes.
She subsequently became an advocate for breast cancer awareness and education, speaking very publicly about her own experience, encouraging women to get regular checkups, a mammogram, sort of that sort of thing. You regularly check yourself. And throughout her battles with cancer, she remained active. She continued to work and on her business, philanthropy, that sort of thing. And she would raise funds and awareness for breast cancer research, including serving as an honorary chairperson for the City of Hope National Cancer Center's Women's Cancer Research Program. That is a mouthful.
Why are there two cancers there?
I might have typed that in.
No,
wrong.
I'm pretty sure that's actually the name. The National
it's
Cancer
a long
Center's
name.
Women's Cancer Research Program.
I think.
Wouldn't it make more
what's
sense
that
to just say
acronym?
the city...
CHNCCWCRP?
The City of Hope National Cancer Center Women's Research Program. Wouldn't that make...
Women's Cancer Research Program.
Yeah, but...
Don't
What
ask
are they
questions.
maybe they are researching other things. I'm just saying it
Maybe.
really long.
Well,
My only criticism.
she served as a chairperson.
Interesting.
Honorary chairperson.
Chairwoman.
And Ruth was approached by a friend during this time who had undergone a mastectomy themselves, and they were unhappy with the available options for breast prosthesis. And
what was it back then? Was it just like, like kind of George Washington's wooden teeth?
Well, yeah, it was typically made of a very heavy, uncomfortable material. Didn't usually look or feel natural,
That doesn't really give me imagery that is helpful. I'm literally thinking of someone walking around with cannons on their chest,
which is kind of cool. I mean, it's like a fembot. Yeah,
these are really uncomfortable.
Well, I didn't look at what they were, but I'm assuming there was a lot of
like
very
wheels,
scary contraptions.
Spinning.
Well, Ruth saw the opportunity nonetheless. She saw the opportunity.
Imagine being part of the medical research team. What could we possibly put on there that's going to resemble the woman's upper body?
Yeah, well, she helped.
We got pyramids.
Yeah, like I said, fembot. She saw the opportunity to help and create a better product, and she began working with a team of engineers and medical professionals to develop a more realistic, lightweight breast prosthesis. And her new business partner for this project was Peyton Massey, and together they started Ruthston Corp. The result was the Nearly Me breast prosthesis, which was made of a soft silicone material that closely mimicked the look and feel of natural breast tissue. So, the Nearly Me breast prosthesis was a groundbreaking product that revolutionized the market for breast prosthesis. And that word is going to be the death of me the more I say it. This. Okay. It was more comfortable, more natural looking, like I said, but it was also more accessible than previous options. Not just that way, just so you could get it. What are you saying that for?
I just wanted to respond.
It was quickly a very popular choice for women who had undergone these mastectomies, these breast tissue removals. And famously, First Lady Betty Ford was fitted with one, greatly increasing its reach.
Betty Ford had breast cancer?
I guess so. Yeah. We've come a long way in terms of dealing and treating breast cancer since then. Although, still seems like so many of us either have it or know someone close to us who's gone through it. It's a terrible thing. But still today, the Nearly Me line produces and distributes breast replacements and post-mastectomy swimsuits. So you can go online today and get some. What are you about to say? You've got this smirk on your face constantly over there.
It doesn't matter who you are or what your life is about.
No, it
you
doesn't.
can go online and get some.
In 1974, Ruth stepped down as the CEO of Mattel after investigations began into a fraudulent financial scheme. Though she officially resigned, it's heavily speculated she was forced out of that position, as is any C-level person who resigns. I'm telling you. That is just code for,
can we talk about
you
something?
should resign.
Can we talk about something really quick? Look, maybe this is me just talking. Maybe my foot is in my mouth right now. I mean, it probably tastes really good.
What are you about to say? Is it a hot take?
Why is it? And this is probably spawned on by another documentary that I've had part of watching recently. Why is it that people who just jump and shoot into power, why is it that they just choose to be nincompoops? Nincompoops. And look.
Well, you don't know what happened yet. No one's perfect, Cam.
Oh, yes.
Including people in positions of power.
Of course. I frequently think about embezzling money. Frequently. Always. It always pops into my head. Always.
Right. Well, we haven't gotten into that yet.
It's disappointing is what it is.
We're not sure exactly.
Well, aliens could have shown up and embezzled the money. Ken, her son.
I didn't say anything about
fraudulent.
Embezzling.
Okay, maybe forging papers. I don't know. Anything to do with just
doing
economic.
A blanket statement with the embezzling. Though
my lady, take the floor.
Thank you. It's heavily suspected that she was forced out of that position, and though officially she resigned. She remained involved with the company as a board member and a consultant, but in 1978, she was charged with fraud and false reporting to the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. Now, you may say your soliloquy over there. She was charged with fraud.
Fraud. Why? You're at the top of the world. Like, look, maybe I'm just being a Debbie Downer. I get people are human, but I don't think that's an excuse for people to be, for lack of a better word, and for the use of a plastic piece of material dildos. I don't think people should be that. Like, you are the Mattel Corporation, for example. You're the head of the Mattel Corporation. Or, I don't know, you're the president of the United States. Or, I don't know, you are anybody with a significant amount of power. It's pretty good, the position you're in. So why would you screw it up?
Well, Ruth cited her difficulties with cancer as a reason for this activity, and she wasn't paying attention to things that were supposed to be going on. I'm of the opinion, look, that's sad, but also if you can't keep track of what's going on, you should probably step back and let someone else take the reins. But yeah, anyway, she did go to court. She pled no contest, and it resulted in a fine of $57,000 and 2,500 hours of community service.
So her excuse was an excuse.
She pled no contest, which I'm sure was a deal. She probably have no jail time or anything if she didn't plead not guilty. Anyway.
I was starting to like her anyway. Let's go ahead and go.
Well, she did a lot of great things. Hold on a second. This next thing is quite interesting. Kind of funny. In the 1990s, Ruth and her family became embroiled in a series of legal battles and controversies surrounding their management of the company. And the most notable of these was in the 1997 lawsuit brought by the artist Tom Forsyth. I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. He created a series of satirical photographs featuring Barbie dolls. And the series of these photographs was titled Food Chain Barbie. The featured Barbie dolls in various positions and settings, including a blender and on a barbecue grill.
I feel like I'm pretty sure I remember this.
Maybe. The photographs were intended as a commentary on consumer culture and the unrealistic beauty standards promoted by Barbie, according to Forsyth, who was the artist. And Mattel sued Forsyth for the copyright infringement and claimed that the photographs were damaging to their brand and image. I know you have lots of opinions about this. You think that's ridiculous.
Again, this goes back to my qualms with Mickey Mouse and his little club of demon minions, all the companies associated with them. You know, my big issue with all this is copyright in the United States, and this is from someone who's a creator, is abused to the almost to a point where it's just laughable. Because for creation, from an economics perspective, from a business perspective, from any perspective that involves the progression of something moving forward, you need to be able to utilize someone else's idea. And I do find it pretty interesting that the person who went over to Germany and stole a German idea for their own company will later on sue someone for utilizing, as an example, something as an artist's rendition and a critique of common culture. Now, it would be also probably more intelligent if at that time Mattel had have thought, this would actually be a really good way to bring awareness to beauty standards. And we'll actually let him use that. And then we'll say, you know what? Let's go ahead and try and change that in a positive way instead of the unhealthy nonsense that is existing today. Because we seem to do this. We seem to be right here on the line in the United States, and then we swing all the way over here, and there's no in between. And companies like Mattel, companies like Disney, companies in general that decide to abuse their power to bully somebody, because that's what it is, hurting their image. Freaking nonsense. It's petty and it's nonsensical is what it is.
Well,
and it's anti-free market, and I am a free market person. I believe in the free market.
Forsyth agreed with you because this lawsuit sparked a battle that lasted several years and drew widespread media attention. Forsyth and his legal team argued that the photographs were a form of artistic expression and they were protected under the First Amendment of the United States, freedom of speech. They also argue that the photographs did not infringe on Mattel's copyrights as they were a form of parody and commentary on the Barbie brand, which I agree. Yeah, I agree completely. But it's said that even Ruth, but you jumped ahead. Ruth publicly defended Forsyth's right to free speech and artistic expression.
Of course she did. It saves her ability to protect the fact that she maybe might have taken an idea from Germany.
Remember, Mattel sued, and she was no longer involved. She was a board member who could have been overruled. Listen, I gotta play devil's advocate because you're rallying against Ruth here.
No, I was rallying against companies that abuse their power. I didn't say Ruth.
I agree with that.
Because I know Ruth single-handedly doesn't control a company, and a company that large does not have a single-handed controller person. Prime example,
not anymore.
Elon Musk. He's not in control entirely of a company single-handedly. He
As
might
much
have a
as he
lot of
wants
sway.
you to believe he is.
Well, he might have a lot of sway. He might be able to say something. But with that being said, it's just kind of like the criticism of people, like the whole tax criticism, stuff like that. It's just a misunderstanding of how business works. It's just, frankly, just how it works.
Right. Well,
that didn't make any sense.
She did publicly say that she apparently did not want this to happen to Forsyth. But after several years of legal wrangling between the two parties, the case was eventually settled out of court in 2004.
Mattel paid him a lot of money.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Well, under the terms of the agreement, here's what happened. Forsyth agreed to destroy the original photographs, and he was allowed to keep and display digital copies of the image. Mattel did not receive any financial compensation from the settlement.
Why did he have to destroy the original copies, but could keep
This seems like
digital?
a waste of
what a freaking exercise in futility. This is what I guess my big rallying point against a lot of these entities that have a lot of power. It can range from anything from business to government, is bureaucracy. It is a lumbering oaf of stupidity. It's like, okay, cool. You wasted years of legal wrangling, which costed Mattel probably millions of dollars and Tom probably millions of dollars.
Yeah.
For ultimately him to burn the original copies, but to keep the digital copies.
Yeah.
That's stupid.
Probably because he probably could have sold them for a lot of money.
Okay, but still, the difference here is that it's his original property. That's like me creating a painting that resembles Mickey Mouse. Isn't Mickey Mouse, but resembles Mickey Mouse. And Disney's suing me and saying, you have to destroy that one, but you can keep the digital one. That makes no sense.
Well, in the end, this legal battle highlighted the ongoing debate over the impact of Barbie and other toys for children that dealt with self-image and the role of corporations in promoting unrealistic beauty standards, as you hit on. But in her later years, Ruth also faced criticism and controversy over her role in creating Barbie in the first place, which many critics saw as promoting unrealistic beauty standards and gender stereotypes. Ruth defended the doll as a positive role model for girls, but she also acknowledged that there was room for improvement in terms of promoting diversity and inclusivity, which, as if you are someone living in 2023 today, you can go down the Barbie aisle at Target and see there are much more than blonde, big-boobed, high-heeled Barbie dolls now available to purchase. So that did change. Did your lawyer advise you not to say anything on this matter?
You know, I think the problem with that, again, goes back to my pendulum analogy, is it keeps just swinging. Like there's no end in sight. So we talk about averages, right? Which is how the argument of self-image would apply to, in the sense that in the world that we should be living in, things should be taken into consideration based on large numbers, based on the overall average of things, not to the outlier scenario. So do they have any dead Barbie dolls? How about any Barbie dolls that have,
my brother
4 or 5 limbs?
Sometimes used to rip their heads off.
How about those Barbie
sounds
dolls?
Scary, but he's like the nicest, sweetest man today.
You should probably predicate that he's not like.
He also has autism.
Thank you. That sounds terrible. But with that being said, like I guess my whole point is there's no line there, and there has to be a standard that everyone can agree to. And this is the problem with the self-image argument, because if your self-image is based upon something that someone else tells you that you should look like, then you'll never have a realistic body image ever. You'll have dysmorphia of some level to some degree. It's like going to the gym. You're not supposed to go to the gym because you want to look better. You're supposed to go to the gym because you want to feel better. You're supposed to go to the gym because you want to be healthier, not because you want to look good, because there are levels to that. There are onions. There's an onion that you have to peel back. And the question you have to ask yourself when you're in that situation is, why is it that my image takes precedence over my health? It's two different things. And I think that's the big problem here. And the reason I have a problem with companies like Mattel and Disney and companies just generally is that they try to take a They're not only do they try to now, but they're also forced by society to take a solidified line of authority on something that they have no business making a line of authority on. That's up to the parents.
Well, according to Gallup poll just last week, 70% of Americans say that major corporations should take a stand on social issues.
How many people did they ask, and what demographic?
I'm sorry, I don't have it pulled up in front of me, but
but here's the thing.
Just now.
Just because, and this might go in the face of my argument of averages, just because a mass majority of society believes that something should be the case does not mean that it should. There has to be a line here. There has to be a criticism. There has to be some level of restraint. Just like we shouldn't have a mobocracy, we also shouldn't have a sense where one person makes all the decisions.
Maybe we should save this discussion for our sister podcast.
Maybe. I'm just saying. Sorry. Thought I wanted to give some insight.
No,
anyway, back to Ruth, Barbie, and the companies that are basically monopolies.
It's fine. I'm just redirecting back to Ruth's incoming death.
We're ahead of time, okay?
Okay. All right.
Incoming death? She's not
it's
upcoming.
Incoming.
Yeah, incoming.
Right now.
Death.
Ruth
Incoming.
Handler passed away April 27th, 2002 at the age of 85 years old.
Oof.
She died from complications of surgery following a long battle with colon cancer. And recall, Ruth had been diagnosed with breast cancer in the 1970s and had undergone a mastectomy, but the cancer returned and metastasized. Yes, thank you. Whew.
You're welcome.
To her colon in the late 1990s. And despite undergoing treatment and surgery, Ruth's condition deteriorated and she ultimately passed away at Century City Hospital in Los Angeles, California. Her husband and high school sweetheart, Elliot, died 9 days later at 95 years old. Now, Ruth's legacy as a pioneering entrepreneur and advocate for women in business continues to be remembered and celebrated to this day. But let's also mention Mattel has now sold over 1 billion Barbie dolls. Also boasts a wide variety of personas, including the UNICEF volunteers and astronauts and whatever else, doctors, whatever else. It's not just high-heeled Barbies, like I said.
Octopus, women hybrids.
Maybe. Well, if Barbie did a Pirates of the Caribbean line and Davy Jones was one of them, then you would actually be correct. I say that because I just recently watched Pirates of the Caribbean and it's on my mind. But anyway, throughout her life, Ruth was honored numerous times for her accomplishments in both business and philanthropy work. She was the first woman of distinction of the United Jewish Appeal, and she received the Volunteer Achievement Award from the American Cancer Society and was inducted into the Toy Industry Hall of Fame by the Toy Manufacturers of America. And like I said, when you go watch the new Barbie movie in the next couple weeks or whenever it comes out,
remember that company needs to have an opinion on all the starving children in the world.
Just remember that Barbie was invented by Ruth Handler. And now you know all about her. And also there's a connection there with breast prosthesis. I tried. And that's it for me.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
It was very well done.
Yes, you're welcome.
On a scale of 1 to corporations need to have an opinion on political issues, I think that Ruth Handler is... I'm going to say she's a 6.2.
Oh, right down the middle.
Out of 10.
Okay.
Out of 10. She's slightly
Well, you've
above
given
average.
people way low scores before. Like, I think you basically dunked on Alexander the Great. You were not a fan of him.
No, I wasn't. And you know what? The reason I give her a pass is because I believe in providing... I'm a believer in the equal evaluation of individuals, and she didn't kill anyone. So
she didn't.
So there's you don't kill someone, you're going to be a little bit higher on my list.
She did plead no contest to fraud and lying to the U.S. Exchange Commission or securities, whatever.
Well, they're a bunch of con men anyway.
That's true. They did just put Elizabeth Holmes behind bars, though. She went to jail like a couple days ago. Turned herself in.
Good. I mean,
she was
how
ordered
unfortunate.
to go 10 years, I think. You have opinions about Elizabeth Holmes, too. I see it spinning in your head over there. Another time. But yes, that was Ruth Handler, everyone. Hope you enjoyed.
Yeah, I thought it was good. Yeah, and you know what? I don't apologize for any of my opinions because this is a free country and I get to say what I want. Just like most people get to say what they want. You viewer can have your opinion about me. With that being said, that was Ruth Handler. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you, if you happen to be a fan of Barbie, hopefully you don't think that Mattel needs to have a political opinion. That's strange. But with that being said, yeah, that's the wrap up of the episode. If you happen to like the episode, you can go ahead and find us on YouTube with a little subscription. That would be much appreciated.
Spotify.
Yeah, we're on Spotify as well, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music. Yeah, wherever you like to listen. And also, we are also on Instagram. The little logo will be right there. But yeah, that's about it. Any indication of who we will be speaking about next week?
Oh, let me see. Can I do a riddle to see who can guess this riddle? Hold on, let me think. I'm pulling up my list.
I know who it is, and this could be very funny.
I think it's going to be great. It's
the greatest drummer of all time.
What?
Yeah.
Don't say the drummer of all time.
It's a good riddle.
That's not a good riddle.
No one would ever guess. No one would guess.
No, they're not going to guess.
Not
and
a
then
single
if they listen
person.
to the next one, they're going to judge you for just saying that.
It's kind of funny. I'm not a big fan of this next person, but that's okay.
Okay.
I already know. I know most of it. Here's the thing that I think is funny is the premise of this show is to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly of people. The premise of the show is not to like the person, right? So you and I, the people viewing, that's up to you. You know, you can have your opinions. I'm not trying to influence anyone. You do not have to listen to what I say. You can think I'm a moron for all you want. With that being said, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the next person. And frankly, you know what? Let's leave it on a cliffhanger, as we always do.
Let's just put it this way. It's a woman.
Well, that makes me sound sexist.
That does.
Yeah. It's not because she's a woman.
Part.
No, I think women are wonderful. With that being said, that is the end of the episode. Right. Thank God I have saved face. We'll catch you next week.
Bye.